Hello, everybody, and welcome back to episode 9 of the 9 Frames podcast. Pretty pleasing, isn't it?
Yeah.
9 and 9.
9. The big 9.
It is August 11th, 2023, Friday. I am Bill Whalen.
And I'm Mike Whalen.
And we're going to get into some sub-points around Major League Baseball against probably the last couple of days.
Yeah. The biggest storyline of this past week, I would say, newly acquired Philadelphia Philly pitcher Michael Lorenzen throws a no-hitter for the Philadelphia Phillies at home against Washington
The
with
All-Star.
his family present.
Yes, they were the All-Star, baby. And I love those family moments. God, you got to see his mom, his wife, and his daughter there. It was absolutely beautiful.
They were jumping up and down.
I believe his son was there, too. They were wearing shirts that said, have a nice day on it. And he certainly did.
Yeah, I mean, that's 2 very nice days in a row. His first start for Philly was 8 innings, 2 earned runs. I mean, that's a quality start. You'll take that every single time. That was a career high. He'd never gone 8 innings before. You know that?
And they get the win over the Marlins on that day, which is a massive game for Philly. It's exactly what you picked this guy up to do.
So he sets his career high in innings pitched in a game in his first start. And the next start, what does he do? He goes and he throws a no-hitter, which means he goes 9, sets a new career high.
So Mr. Lorenzen is bringing home the bread, and we're just going to tip the cap to him to start off the episode, because that was Wednesday, so we missed the day to give him the credit, but all credit to Michael Lorenzen.
It's been brief, since the trade deadline, but I'd say he's probably the best acquisition overall so far.
100%, because bang for your buck, this guy was a slept-on deal.
Yeah.
People thought this was an under-the-radar deal. It might be the most impactful. He might get playoff starts because of the way he's playing.
Yeah, he's down to a 3.23 ERA and a 104 WHIP. Those are really good numbers.
Good MLB numbers. Straight up.
That's a good season.
Yep.
I want to real quickly give a shout out to Nick Castellanos, who hit 2 home runs, totaling up to 200 in his career.
Yeah, same game in that no-hitter. Phenomenal game for the Phillies. They end up winning 7-0.
All around. I'm pretty sure one of their rookies hit his first career home run. I could find the name.
That's Wilson, right?
Yeah, it was one of their new guys just hit his first. So all around.
Shout out to the Phillies. They're playing absolutely phenomenal ball right now. They're in the top spot of the National League wild card. They have a 4-game lead on that. That's 2.5 for San Francisco. So they got, a game and a half on San Francisco as well?
Yeah.
I mean, they're feeling good right now. The boys are cooking.
Yeah. Also,
little mention,
real quick, at the end of that last game, Harper was removed in do we even know what inning it was?
I think
it was semi late.
The thing about how the Phillies are playing, I don't think it really matters what inning they took him out.
Yeah, they took him out of a 6-2 win with mild back spasms, they're calling it, so he should be all right.
Yeah, Harper's feeling uncomfortable, you get your guy out, no reason to stretch him, and then they end up winning 6-2 over the lowly Nationals.
Yeah,
pretty easy.
Better to be safe than sorry.
Yeah, we'll move on to another really interesting topic, I thought. The Boston Red Sox, they have a series against Kansas City this week in Fenway, and they end up giving away free Kike Hernandez WBC bobbleheads 2 weeks since he joined the Dodgers by that trade. What do you think about that?
I think I kind of semi get it because it's WBC. If it was Red Sox themed, I think they probably would have scrapped it. But since it was Team Puerto Rico and it was a WBC, it was a cool thing, and he was on the team 2 weeks ago. I mean, I don't really have a problem with them doing it.
Do you have any problem? No?
No.
I definitely don't have a problem with it.
No, just because it's not Red Sox.
Not to mention the Red Sox love this guy anyway.
Yeah, of course. Nothing
Here's
but
my
respect.
thing. Would you have a problem if it was a Red Sox bobblehead?
I would think it's a little bit more weird. Because, think about it in terms of, us from a fan perspective. Imagine we traded, back in the day, Jose Reyes, and he had a bobblehead day. You would still want them to go through with it? Just
imagine how cool it would be to have the very last New York Mets bobblehead for Jose Reyes.
Well, it wasn't, because he came back.
Well, there you go. But that could be the case here, too. Whoever knows. But this could be the last Kike Hernandez Red Sox bobblehead if it was the Red Sox bobblehead. In terms of the Puerto Rico one, he should be there.
Yeah, I got no problem with that.
They should have given it away, and everybody there is going to go home happy because they love Kike Hernandez. They probably love that Puerto Rico team. I did.
Yeah, of course. I mean, no one's going to complain about that.
Phenomenal WBC.
It's a bit odd because he's not on the team, but it is what it is.
Yeah, we talked about that Red Sox series with the Royals, and we thought it was going to be pretty interesting. It definitely was, especially from a box score standpoint. The Red Sox take 3 out of 4. One of those games is a Kansas City loss. That Jordan Lyles goes complete game in. He only gets 8 innings for the complete game. It counts because nobody else pitches for them.
True.
He ties Sandy Alcantara, Framber Valdez, and Nate Eovaldi. So the top brass of starting pitching.
Wow.
In the AL. I mean, it's crazy.
I did not know that happened.
No, so he goes 8 innings pitched. He gives us 7 hits, a walk, and 4 earned runs. They lose 4-3 in that game.
See, that's the thing, is I think that's misleading because Jordan Lyles sucks. I'm sorry. Like, he's just not good.
Fair enough. I mean, he's 3-13 on the year.
Yeah.
He's got a 6.13 ERA.
Yeah.
A 1.27 WHIP.
Yeah.
Why are they using him like this?
Because they're the Royals, they don't really care, and they're just trying to eat innings.
Isn't that almost insulting to a fan base like Kansas City, though? They won a World Series in 2015.
Yeah, I mean, this is the rebuild years, though. You're getting innings where you get them.
If you've won a World Series within the decade, and you're putting a guy out for 8 innings pitched against the Red Sox to give up 4 earned runs and lose... I mean, Nate Eovaldi, who he faced... Or not Nate Eovaldi, Nick Pivetta, who he went against that day, went 5 innings. So the Red Sox clearly have a better head on their shoulders.
Yeah, I'm not really sure why they're using specifically Lyles like that, but
just keep him going no matter what he gives up.
Maybe it just is working out that he has a lower pitch count and he's just giving up hits early in the count and then runs. I don't know, because a 6.13 ERA.
It's just super odd. 2 complete games with a 6.13 and 3-13 loss record. It's so awful. Crazy. Yeah, so we'll get to another big series. They just finished off on Wednesday. It was Miami and Cincinnati. This was a pretty highlight series. They played basically what looked like a wild card series.
Real quick before we move on, though, Lyles does lead the American League in losses and the entire league.
That makes it even more baffling.
Yeah.
Yeah. To go back to Miami and Cincinnati, they ended on Wednesday. That was a 5-4 win for Miami to give Miami a 2 out of 3. They were all close games too. Yeah. You want to talk about it?
I mean, I think that's kind of what we expected because those are 2 teams that need those wins.
Yep.
So who took 2? Miami takes 2 out of 3,
which is absolutely massive because if you look at it right now, Miami is a half game up on Cincinnati.
Yeah, and look at
the game.
Look at who was on a tear for them too.
Yep.
Josh Bell goes 2 for 4 with 2 home runs, 4 RBI.
Mm-hmm.
Jazz comes back.
Absolutely guns Ellie De La Cruz at second base. I don't know if you saw that play.
Oh, yeah.
He goes to his left.
Beat him by a mile.
And this is a second baseman, not for nothing. I know he's adjusting to center field and he's getting there.
Yeah.
He makes the play off the hop, does a little spin and throws it. God, that had to be 90 miles per hour.
Yeah, it's weird because, he did come up as a shortstop. That's what he was drafted as.
True.
But so he does have a good arm, but playing second base, he didn't really... demonstrate it as often. So.
And he's gunning the best speed in the game. Right there.
The guy flies.
Yeah, so Miami scores 4 in the last 2 frames of that game, which is really frustrating for Cincinnati. It's got to be. Diaz blows another save.
He's been nails.
That's a De La Cruz homer. That's Brian De La Cruz for Miami.
Wow.
Yep, he gets the homer to get the go-ahead. That's a half-game separation. Yeah, what do you think about that?
I just don't really see either of those teams just pulling away,
Yeah, looking at it, it really just does feel like Chicago's a better team than both of them.
That's still the way I'm going to go with it.
The best one out of the group, I think.
Unless San Diego catches fire because they're still only 4.5 out.
We'll talk about them later. They're not doing great right now.
Yeah, ugly week.
Yeah, so Miami's got a series coming up against the Yankees, which is super interesting. Both of those teams absolutely on the brink. Miami's at home. That'll be in Lone Depot Park.
Nice little interleague series.
And Cincinnati's got what should be an easy series against Pittsburgh. We'll see. They're in Pittsburgh, so they'll have to fight it out.
So that's where the Reds need to take care of business.
Definitely. Yeah, that's one of those series, much like the 3 out of 4 that the Red Sox ended up taking from the Royals in a series like that. We said they needed to do that.
When the postseason teams win the games they got to win. Shout out to the Rays, by the way.
Absolutely crazy.
I don't know if you saw that little stat. 4 out of 5 of their starters on opening day are on the 60-day IL or out for the season, and they are still tied for the league lead in starter ERA.
Absolutely insane. Which is that's one of the biggest commodity in baseball. When you think about it, if you're going to win a game, it's probably going to be because your starter ERA is low for the most part. If you can get through 5 strong innings, 6 strong innings in this current MLB, the bats will probably pick you up.
That's what the Rays do. They just find ways to get quality, good starts from
they get it out
everyone.
of everyone, and they'll make great pitchers for other teams somehow.
Yeah,
they'll end up just spreading out across the league. Shout out to the Rays just for being a talent mine.
And the craziest part is they're so smart. They know when to get rid of people too.
A real diamond mine down there.
Yep.
One more shout out in the intro here. Sal Frelick, the rookie for the Brew Crew. I am a huge Sal Frelick guy. I don't know about you.
Yeah, I'm a fan.
I mean, he has more walks. He's got 14 walks than 12 strikeouts since his debut.
Impressive.
He's at a 932 OPS and a 15 RBI for the Brew Crew.
It's a great way to start the career for sure.
Yeah, and a first-place team with the Brewers. So, I mean, these are the type of guys that come up and you make a run.
Yeah, he certainly has been a nice jolt of energy for them.
Definitely. 2.5 games up on Chicago right now.
And Cincy.
The same, yeah, they're tied. But as we talked about on Wednesday, that was a game and a half. So they did make up a game since Wednesday.
Yep.
Let's keep making up games, Brew Crew, because I like that team. I really do.
Yeah, me too. All right, now it's time to get into the more prominent stories. All right, so we're going to basically start off how we ended last episode.
Yeah, we were fired up.
We're talking about the American League Central, and more specifically right now, we'll be getting into the Twins again. We were talking about how they had a big 4-game series coming up with the Tigers, and at the time of recording last time, I think it was 1-1 in the series, or 1-0. The Twins
it was
just won
1-0 Twins, yeah.
Okay, so, no, it was 1-1.
No, it was 1-1. You're right. 1-1.
We were at Wednesday's game.
Yeah, they had split the first two.
So they won the first game big, and then they lost 6-0 the second game because of Eduardo.
And we had talked about on Wednesday's episode that it was big that they picked up like those last 2 games to make a statement against Detroit.
And guess what they didn't do? They lose 5-9, and then they get shut out 3-0 again.
Yeah, really brutal stuff.
So the Twins did not do what they were supposed to do. They really didn't make up any. Actually, they lost ground, even with Cleveland being 3-7 in their last 10. So I mean, they're only 3.5 out now. It's
still where. I mean, I'm gonna say it again. It's the most unacceptable thing in baseball. This team is 3 games over 500, and they're 3.5 games up in first.
Yeah, nobody wants it in that division.
It's almost like not fair to so many playoff teams.
And now, after just losing 3 in a row after winning the first against the Detroit Tigers, they have to go to Philadelphia for 3 games.
Yeah, and we talked about Philly a lot in the intro. I mean, a lot of credit to them. They're playing great ball right now.
Hot team.
But I noticed something super interesting. Philly's got what's probably their 3 best going. I mean, probably not, because it's Keuchel only.
You mean Minnesota?
Yeah, oh yeah, Minnesota. Excuse me. And it's not their 3 best because Keuchel just made his debut, but he had a phenomenal start. They got Keuchel going. Then they got Pablo Lopez going on Saturday.
And then Sonny Gray.
And Sunday goes Sonny Gray.
Yeah.
Those are 3 guys who have been good for them so far. Obviously, Keuchel's only 1 start that he did previously this week. But then I looked at Philly, and they're all TBDs.
Yeah, I saw today Christopher Sanchez was supposed to be the starter. He's been like an opener that they've been trying to stretch out more. I think we've talked about him before.
Yeah, I would definitely give him a little credit,
yeah. So he was penciled in today, and then I haven't seen anything for the other 2 games. I wonder why.
It feels odd, doesn't it?
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm going to say it again, like I said it in the intro, though. You know who got hurt in that game that they won 6-2 yesterday? Bryce Harper.
Yeah.
Does it matter who's starting?
I guess.
Does it really matter who's starting against the Twins? They might just pull it out anyway.
Yeah, with the way the Twins are playing, who knows?
Not to mention, we know Philly. I mean, there's not like too much injury problems right now. So whoever they end up determining who's starting that game, they're going to be good arms.
To get shut out 2 out of 4 games and 2 games out of the last 3 after winning one by the Detroit Tigers is crazy.
That's why this Philly series is tough to call because, I mean, it partially depends on the arms that they announce, but also does it. Because I think Philly's just overall a way better team.
Oh, I agree. I think Philly is better than
Philly's
them.
country miles ahead of Minnesota.
I mean, they would be, 4 games up on them, 4.5 games up on them?
They're 12 games over 500, and Minnesota is only 3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I think it'll probably be a 2 out of 3 Philly we're looking at.
I would like to pick sweep, but I just don't know the arms that are going for Philly. But, I mean, Philly is the far and superior team.
I would be a little bit surprised if the Minnesota Twins take 2 out of 3 or more.
No way, right? I mean, I say no way.
Just because it's in Philly.
Not literally no way, because this is baseball. Yeah. Of course they can. Especially because they have those arms going. They could step up. But I don't see it, man. I'm with you.
I kind of think it might have been a little bit of good news, though, that Cleveland has only made up 1 game with how they've been playing against the Tigers.
I mean, we've been talking about it since the deadline.
And
how many games do you think they're going to make up, you know? Because they didn't try.
Well, that's the thing. We're talking about how Minnesota has to play this tough team in Philadelphia. The Guardians have to go play the Rays.
Coming off a series against the Blue Jays.
Yeah, so
I mean, probably kind of some brutal scheduling for Cleveland. Maybe that's why Cleveland sold. Yeah, I didn't realize how tough the scheduling was right after the deadline.
Yeah, maybe they looked ahead and they were like, Bieber's not going to be back until at least mid-September. Screw it.
I still don't think it's right. I still don't think it's right with how close the division is and how your team does have talent.
And with a team that hasn't won in so long.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean,
they have the longest drought now.
We'll definitely talk about them a little bit more because they had a good series that we'll talk about with Toronto.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, and good pitching matchups in that.
Yeah.
So there's no reason they couldn't have tried, at least to stay together.
Yeah, the Guardians always puzzle me.
Yeah, Guardians should have at least tried to stay together and win the Central, kind of like what the Cubs are doing, but it's sad to see.
Yeah.
Guardians ball. All right, keeping it in the American League, which was a massive series in the midweek. The Orioles and the Astros looked like an absolute playoff preview, as we thought it would. The Astros end up taking 2 out of 3. The Orioles squeaked the last one out. That keeps them from being swept. The last time they were swept, May of 2022.
You know what the big move that they made on that time was?
No, what was that?
That's when they called up Adley Rutschman.
Wow.
They have not been swept since
There
they
you
called
go.
him up.
I mean, a great catcher will call a great game, and will definitely make a staff look better and keep you in games.
This weekend series that they got coming up, though, it does not look like it's going to be any easier for the Orioles as they're going to be hosting the Seattle Mariners, who are the hottest team in baseball.
God, shout out to Seattle. They're playing a great brand of baseball right now. They're on a 7-game win streak.
Yeah, they got 3 of them in Seattle. Or no, they're going to be in Baltimore, but Seattle's coming in. And,
Right.
I mean,
Always a nice place to play in Camden, though.
I'm not sure if it matters if Seattle's playing at home or on the road at this moment.
No, I mean, they just swept San Diego, which we'll also talk about more later, but they are 5.5 out of the West now. I still don't think that's in reach. It's tough.
It's within reach.
Because it's 5.5 after a 7-game win streak.
Yeah, but they put themselves right back in now.
Baseball's not really a 7-game win streak game most of the time, and we know that.
Who says it ends at 7, though?
Maybe it doesn't. Yeah, you're right. But they have the tough Orioles. Like you said, it's not getting any easier for the Orioles, but is it getting easier for the Mariners? They got to go up against the Orioles.
I think I'd be more worried if I was Baltimore right now than Seattle, though.
That's bold to say.
Yeah,
I know
this specific series.
I know Baltimore's in a little bit of a struggle because they're facing some tough teams, but man, dude, I don't want to face that bullpen or that lineup at all.
That bullpen was one of the ones that cost them the first game.
Kind of have been for a week since that Philly series.
They look like they're coming back down to earth a little bit.
The bullpen lost 2 of the games in that Philly series, and then they lost that one. So.
I don't think Seattle's to be taken lightly anymore.
Oh, I'll never take them lightly. But I'm still disappointed with the fact that they sold their closer at the deadline. I think it's huge to close down games.
He had a big blown save, though, for the D-backs the other
day. Do we
day.
know who is, fully closing games for Seattle yet?
No. They might just be going by committee.
Yeah, see, and that's what I'm saying. You think that's a team that's making a deep run?
I mean, those old Rangers teams back in 2015 and 16, they didn't really have a closer. Sam Dyson was closing games.
Both of those teams lost in the first round.
Right, but they made the playoffs.
Oh, no, I've been saying for a while now I think Seattle can make the playoffs. I don't think it's a team that's built for a deep run, especially if you're going to sell a closer, which bullpens build postseason success.
Yeah, I guess that's fair enough.
It is. The winning recipe is bullpen and bats.
Yeah, but I mean, what I preach the most is get in and you can win. You never know.
Oh, most definitely. This is the sport to say that about. Yeah, so I mean, I think the M's have a good chance of making the playoffs, actually. I'm not short on their chances at all. They're only a game and a half out of Toronto right now. So, I mean, this is a huge series.
Yeah, for sure.
They have to play the Orioles, who are above them. What do you think?
I think that Seattle's got a good chance to, I mean, the way that they've been playing, you just got to keep your foot on the gas.
Yeah, you feel better about them or Toronto? I mean, we'll talk more about Toronto later.
Toronto's got the Cubs coming up this weekend. That's a tough series.
Yeah, they do. We're definitely going to set that one up.
A lot of good series this weekend after, kind of a slow week.
I think maybe that was on purpose. They kind of gave a week of decompression, which is all right. I don't mind it at all. I think the weekend is going to be electric, which is exactly what you need for baseball. Let's get some eyes on
I'm looking at the schedule, and the Blue Jays have the Cubs and then the Phillies.
Absolutely brutal
See
series.
what I'm talking about, though? That opens the door for Seattle.
It definitely does.
If they just got to take care of business, and they got KC after Baltimore.
Yeah, there you go.
See what I'm talking for 4.
Yeah, no, good point. Good point.
I mean, if they get past Baltimore, if they somehow sweep and they get to 10, dude, that win streak could get lengthy.
It really could. This is the type of a series where Seattle's got to take it day by day and try to take 2 out of 3.
That's not to say that sweeping Baltimore is any easy feat.
No, not at all.
I
think you try. I'm saying try to take 2 out of 3.
Literally, we're just saying it has not happened since May of last year.
Exactly.
So no one's done it. They probably won't be the first ones to do it, but hey,
I mean, I'm not going to lie. If the Mariners take 1 out of 3, they might be feeling pretty decent about the series.
Yeah, I think they're going to try to shoot for 2 out of 3.
Oh, absolutely. But you want 2 out of 3, but I don't think you want to be competitive in these games is what's most important.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it really depends on how the standings shake out.
You have to keep in the Rays, so that's the thing. They need to take. I think they want to take 2 out of 3. They need to take 1.
Yeah, they can't get swept.
No, absolutely not.
No, that would be a complete momentum killer.
Yeah, so my ceiling on their season as of today, that's my thing, is I just kind of think maybe the ALDS. Maybe they get there. If they get through the wild card. And then because they're not winning the division in my...
You don't think they could win a 5-game series, though?
I'm not positive they can win a best 2 out of 3 against most playoff teams right now.
Damn.
Yeah, I mean, that's my thing. They're a fairly young team, lacking bullpen arms, now missing Sewald. I don't know.
They got Matt Brash out there who's having a great year.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying they're terrible. They're not. They're a playoff team.
Maybe Brash just takes over as the closer full-time. Who knows?
They're not terrible at all. They're a playoff team for sure. I mean, look at it.
I mean, yeah, their pitching sits atop the American League and team ERA.
Yeah. Yeah, all credit to them.
That's what I'm saying.
And again, like I said, winning formula, that's going to keep you in games. That's probably why they're here today.
So if they continues in that trend...
You think, but that most of the year, they had Paul Sewald for that, so...
Yeah.
I don't know how much the pitching from the closing spot is going to help your team.
Yeah, but we've talked about it. Reliever is the easiest to replace. I mean, Paul Sewald's not a guy that's winning.
You say that.
Paul Sewald's not a guy that's winning anybody a World Series.
You say reliever is easy to replace. I think back-end reliever is super valuable.
I think specifically somebody like Paul Sewald is very easy to replace.
If you can put a guy in an 8th and 9th inning in a close game, I don't think there's many things more valuable in baseball.
Yeah, but you can find a lot of guys that can do that.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess you could find a lot of Paul Sewalds. The thing is, when we were talking about...
Paul Sewald wasn't Paul Sewald on the Mets. He sucked.
When we were talking about David Bednar, though, that's not the same. I don't think you find a lot of David Bednars.
Well, now you're talking about the top of the top.
Right.
Paul
Sewald's not. Well, fair enough. That's what I'm saying. But then again, I guess you're right. I don't know. It's a big gray area.
Like, he's not even an all-star level closer, you know? Like, has he been an all-star?
Borderline. I think he may be one time.
All right, still, that's what I'm saying, though. Like...
I don't know. It's definitely a gray area where the Mariners are going to have to... Maybe they even get somebody to step up and be a good closer like Brash, like you said.
Yeah, maybe he just takes the role.
Yeah, very true.
Real quickly, just to circle back to the Astros, they have they're set to take on the struggling Halos this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, this series is becoming something of a nothing burger, like straight up. We're going to talk about it later, but Fangraphs kind of sees the Angels as the Mets right now. So
that's crazy.
Yeah. If the Angels are the Mets, I don't think the Astros are worrying about either one.
Yeah, so I guess we'll keep our eyes on those series, but I don't know if Houston and LA is going to be much.
Keep a very close eye on Seattle and the O's. We'll keep a very distant eye on Houston and the Angels.
As we just previously mentioned, keeping it with the Padres, they get swept in a short 2-game series against the Mariners, losing the first one 2-0 and the second one 6-1.
Yeah, there were a couple 2-game sets this week. Pretty interesting.
Yeah, it was a weird little interleague 2-game.
I like 2 sets.
Now they just sit 4.5 games out of the wild card. They're still 13.5 out of the division in 4th place. I think that's probably wraps.
Mm-hmm.
But they do still have an outside shot at the wild card. And good news for them. They have the struggling D-backs coming up right now.
Massive series. They are struggling, and the D-backs do drop both of their 2-game set that happens during the week with the Dodgers, which you can kind of foresee. They keep struggling. First one was 5-4, and all 4 runs of the Dodgers was scored in the last 2 frames.
Under 500 now, those
really
D-backs.
Brutal, yeah. So, I mean, we said that all 4 runs were scored by the D-backs in the last 2 frames there to try to come back. Well, the 2-0 loss that they had over the Dodgers in the second game there, David Peralta gets a single in the 8th to score both of those. So it's both late losses, more frustrating games for the D-backs.
I mean, for a team that's struggling so hard since the deadline, being, what are they, 1-9 in their last 10?
Yeah, they are.
I mean, the team just can't find a way to win the close games, which is just the worst thing that can possibly happen right now.
Yeah, which, I mean, coming up on this series on the weekend, I think close games are exactly what we're going to see. We're starting it off with a first game between Blake Snell and Ryan Nelson.
Blake Snell has been unbelievable.
He's looking to continue his phenomenal season. I was about to say he's going to throw his name in the hat for that NL Cy Young.
Yeah, and that would put him in some elite company to win one from the AL and the NL.
As a lefty, yeah, as we said, we would love to see that. That second game goes Rich Hill versus Zach Gallen, which
another fantastic pitcher in Zach Gallen.
Yeah, it's going to be tough. This is going to be kind of a big test for the Rich Hill trade. Yeah, they need him to step up against a team like the Snakes, especially when they're struggling right now.
That's a very tough matchup.
Yeah, and that third game is Seth Lugo coming off a really rough start where he gave up 8 earned runs to the Dodgers against, and excuse me if I don't pronounce this the right way, Brandon Pfaadt? Pfaadt?
Something.
All right, excuse me, but So like you said, the Snakes are 1-9 in their last 10. Really brutal ball right now. They've been skidding. They were 16 games over 500, and right now they're sitting at 57 and 58. They're 11.5 out of the division, which is just unheard of from where they were a couple weeks ago. 2.5 games out of the wild card now.
I find it honestly to be genuinely impressive that they're only 2.5 games out of the wild card with how bad they've been.
Well, that's the thing. That's what's so disappointing, and I'm sure Snakes fans are ripping their hair out.
Oh yeah,
they gotta be, because they've been good for 3/4 of the year.
Literally just need to play 500 ball and they would be in it still.
They've been 3 really bad weeks, and it ruined the season.
I don't know if I'd say it's ruined yet.
No, of course not, but it ruined their chances at the West.
Oh yeah, it ruined, yeah.
So I mean that would have been a huge deal for Arizona. What's their last pennant?
Yeah, true, but did anyone really think that they were going to outlast the Dodgers?
A month ago, a couple people were saying it, trying to be bold. Did I know?
I never really thought they were going to outlast the Dodgers.
I thought the Dodgers would finish that out. I was saying, even when they didn't have the lead on this podcast, I was saying they would get it. They're inevitable. That's the way I work.
I'll give them credit. I think it's impressive they're still above a team like San Diego with the payroll they have.
Yeah, well, more like disappointing for San Diego, but
or you could look at it that way.
That's kind of maybe call me pessimistic, but man, San Diego and the Mets, I'll just dump on them a little bit too. Both of those teams just had to be better with how much money they spent.
We were just talking about the Mariners being the hottest team in baseball. This is the coldest. They've lost 8 in a row. I mean, they don't even look like a team right now.
And they're close games. So they've a lot of these games we've been talking about with the D-backs have been close.
They just haven't been able to finish it.
Even back when they were losing to the Cardinals, when they dropped 2 out of 3 to the Cardinals, they were losing the games by 2 runs, 1 run.
Every time you say that, it just hurts my head.
Yeah, it's
2 out of 3 to the Cardinals, and then you lose. All the games, it's just they're losing 2 out of 3, or they're getting swept. Now they're just losing all of them. It's 8 in a row.
Yep. Yeah, 1-9. The 1 win in their last 10 just probably squeaked that one out too.
Yeah, it's tough to see.
Yeah, so let me get your predictions on the series now that we've set up the matchups.
The Padres and D-backs.
Yeah, that series.
I think Snell is gonna pitch his ass off again tonight, like he has been. I think Gallen's gonna pitch his ass off for the D-backs on Saturday.
Right.
And then I think Sunday will be a slugfest.
It'll be a real battle, yeah. I think the series in general will be battle. Who are you picking?
I'm taking obviously I'm taking the Padres.
Yeah. All right.
I think they're taking at least 2 out of 3, and if they sweep, they could really throw their hats back into that NL wildcard race. And it could really end the Diamondbacks hopes.
That was my thing. Looking at the matchups and looking at the series, I think kind of my analysis of it is Snell versus Nelson. I think Snell's probably going to shut them down. Maybe Nelson will have a good start, but I'm not sure if it'll be enough.
They need him to.
I take the Padres in that game. Then it's Hill versus Gallen. I think Hill's got a lot to prove versus a struggling Snakes team. So I think maybe the Padres get that game. And then maybe the Lugo game will be the slugfest that they go. So I'm probably taking 2 out of 3 Padres or sweet Padres.
So we're in agreement.
Well, definitely, complete agreement, yeah.
Yeah, I just think the D-backs, hopefully they surprise everybody and can turn it around soon.
If this series goes like we're saying it goes, their season might actually be ruined.
Yeah.
If they get swept by the Padres here.
I think if the D-backs see that wild card game back fall to 4 or 5, I think they're going to probably be in a really rough spot.
They get swept by the D-backs here, they're down a game. Or no, they get swept by the Padres here, the D-backs are down a game to them.
Yeah.
So this is
to fourth.
This is a season flipper for both of these teams. They need to perform.
Yeah. I'll definitely be watching I've been on the Padres a little bit. I like watching their team. They got a lot of good players. I love watching Juan Soto play.
That's the thing. They're so fun. They have Machado and Cronenworth and Ha-Seong Kim. And, like you said, they got Tatis.
They play a lot of late games, too, so if it's on, I'll throw it on.
Yeah, a lot of, on the East Coast, it's fun to watch the 10 o'clock games. It's kind of between the Dodgers and the Padres a lot of the time. That's how
it was the Angels, but not recently.
Not anymore. Now they're just the West Coast Mets. Our last but definitely not least series to set up for the weekend ahead. Well, the Blue Jays, they split with the Guardians. They won the first one 3-1. There's 3 in the last 2 frames there for the Blue Jays, so they score all their runs in the last 2 frames to win the game. Absolutely clutch. They lose that second game 1-0. That is the Bibee game.
Absolutely shoved.
Yeah, he absolutely destroyed them. That gets finished off by Clase, as many games do for those guards when they win them. That third game goes 1-0 back to the Blue Jays. So back-to-back 1-0 games. Super rare for this current league.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a league of scoring and not really pitching, but that's 7 shutty innings by Gausman, and we get a save by Jordan Hicks, which is awesome to see.
Yeah, but they do need Romano back.
They do, but yeah, Jordan Hicks looks good. He's shoving. They lose the last game of the series to split 2-2 with the Guardians, who, like we said, this is why they're not making up ground, because they end up splitting their series like this. They lose that one 4-3. Manoah has 4 earned in 4 innings pitched.
I just don't know what happened to that guy.
Alek Manoah, top 3 in Cy Young, last year or the year before? Yeah. Probably last, right?
I think it was last year.
Which is absolutely insane that he can fall so far.
Yeah.
And who will they be facing off with this weekend?
The Blue Jays, like we said a little bit earlier in the episode, they'll be taking on the Cubs, who just dropped 2 of 3 to the Mets, who have really struggled since the deadline.
Brutal.
Large part, and thanks to their big 2, the top 2 boppers, Francisco Lindor and Pete Alonso.
Yeah, they are cooking.
Pete Alonso specifically is on absolute fire. He, another 2-homer game, 4 in the series in 3 games.
Really has looked phenomenal since the deadline.
Just insane stuff from Pete. They lose 11-2 the first game. They win 3-2 the second game.
Yeah, Taillon was really good in that second game, and Tauchman had a homer for them, so that's how they pulled that one off.
And then the third game was the big drama. 4-3. The Mets bring in Ottavino in the 9th inning. He really, really struggles. And Buck makes a bold move. He goes to the righty, Phil Bickford.
A new guy, man. I was saying I liked him. I like his stuff. He was really good 2 years ago for the Dodgers and the Nationals he was traded from.
Bickford walks 1, Ks 2, and gets out and gets his first save of the year, second of his career, and really, honestly, in what some might view as a lost season, one of the cool moments for the Mets.
Really awesome to see. It's awesome to see for Bickford as well. And like we said, the Cubbies did score a run in that 9th, so they're still clawing games out here. Obviously, the first game was kind of a wash. That happens sometimes.
Yeah.
Impossible to avoid. Second game, they pull out a big win in a close game, and they try to do the same in the third. They just can't.
Yeah, the 11-2 one was the one where Pete had 2 more homers.
That's the only one that it's just like it was thrown away because of how dominant he was from the start. So, I mean, that's baseball. This was a tough series for them. Yeah, they'll be matching up with the Blue Jays this weekend, who have been playing really good ball lately. That's the thing. I think this might be the most interesting series of the weekend just because of the way how both of these teams are set up so close to not being in the playoffs or being in the playoffs. It's so interesting.
Yeah, and also, man, I gotta say, like, I might be in the minority here, but thank God they changed the schedule to where every team plays.
No, I don't think you're in the minority. I think it's more of a 50-50 split than people think.
I want to see the Blue Jays and Cubs playing right now.
I love it.
They're both in a prominent spot, and they're trying to push, and playing against each other is going to make them bring out the best.
I remember being a Met fan. We were watching Mets versus White Sox earlier on in the year, and they were talking about how the White Sox hadn't been to Citi Field in half a decade.
That's absurd.
Stop. Just everybody visit everyone. Let's play. Let's play baseball.
We don't need to be playing our division rivals 19 times.
I mean,
13's enough.
Quite literally, there's no reason we should be waiting 3 years for Jays versus Cubs. These are 2 good rosters. I want to see them play.
Yeah, and then you don't even know if they're going to both be good in 3 years.
They probably won't. I mean, they won't always match up like that. Let's see it every year.
It's hard to have sustainable success in baseball.
Right. So the first game of this massive Jays versus Cubs series, that's going to be Assad for the Cubs, which we talked about it last time, had a phenomenal start for them in his last start. He'll be facing off with Jose Barrios of the Jays. The second one will be Justin Steele, the nice lefty for the Cubs, against the innings eater, Chris Bassett. And that last one will be Taillon, who, like we said, was good in the second game of the Mets series, and he'll be going off against Hyun-Jin Ryu.
Nice to see Hyun-Jin Ryu back on the mound finally.
Yeah, definitely nice. So we got a couple good lefties coming up in this series in general. Yeah.
The Jays now, like we were saying, only sit a game and a half up on Seattle, who's playing another massive series.
Right.
Chicago's a game and a half behind Miami. They're still fighting.
Right.
For that
Miami's,
third spot.
like we said, Miami's facing the Yankees this weekend. So those are like all four of those series now. Jays, Cubs, the Seattle series, Miami versus the Yankees. This is huge.
Yeah, like we were just saying, the middle of the week was kind of slow a little bit, but the weekend looks like it's loaded.
And, honestly, another credit to the new schedule, 2 of these series we cannot see in the playoffs unless it's the World Series.
Yeah.
We're seeing Jays versus Cubs, which is so interesting as both of these teams fight for a playoff spot. And we're seeing the Miami Marlins against the New York Yankees as they both fight for playoff spots.
That was a World Series that the Marlins won.
Yep, there you go. And how often have those teams seen each other recently?
Back in 2003.
There you go. So, I mean, it's a really exciting prediction, or a really exciting series, and I wanted your predictions on it.
For which one?
For Jays Cubs, that is.
I think the Jays and the Cubs, that series is in Toronto or in Chicago?
Actually, good question. Let's look into that real quick.
It's in Toronto.
Okay,
so.
yeah, pretty. I don't know how much that sways it. Would it have? I think Wrigley has more of a home field feel.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the Blue Jays are actually a better team on the road. So.
Well, there you go. So.
I guess it doesn't really matter that much.
Yeah, we'll
but
definitely see.
You still like to be in front of your home guys. I think the Cubs are gonna shock. They're gonna go into Toronto and they're gonna take 2 out of 3. I'm sticking with my Cubs pick.
Yeah, I'm looking at this series and man, we were setting up other series pitching matchups and God, this is really interesting the way they match up. So I mean, Assad and Barrios. If Assad pitches the way he's been pitching recently, Barrios they're on the same level right now. They're both like low 3s. So
yeah.
That should be an absolute barn burner. I think it'll be a pitching duel. I probably give the edge to the Jays just because of experience, and then I'll say the young kid gets it over the innings eater. Maybe the Cubs get one. God, if only they could split, I would definitely be calling that.
Yeah.
These teams are so even.
Yeah, they do seem very even.
I can't believe it. Yeah, if I have to make a pick, 2 out of 3 to the Jays.
Okay, so I'm going 2 out of 3 Cubs.
Yeah,
You going 2
I'll
out of 3
take 2
Jays.
out of 3 Jays, yeah.
And then, real quick, we'll just, what do you think about that Yankees-Marlins series?
Yeah, the Yankees-Marlins series is super interesting to me as well. The Yankees currently sit 5 games out of the wild card now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they just played the White Sox, too, so you thought they'd pick more up, but they didn't.
They kind of went back a little bit.
Yeah, and Miami's playing good ball, like we just said. They take 2 out of 3 from Cincinnati. I'm picking Miami for that series. I think 2 out of 3 or a sweep.
I agree. I think Miami will do that, but I think the Yankees desperately need to win these games.
Need these games.
They need a series win in the worst way.
Yeah, no, there's another one of those things. It's just like this is exactly like the Snakes we were talking about. The Yankees need 2 out of 3, but I don't think they're going to be able to get them.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
I'm interested to see how the Yankees and Marlins play. I like watching teams like that match up.
Exactly, and credit to the new schedule for that.
Absolutely.
And just before we conclude here, I thought this was super interesting. I saw on Twitter. These are rounded off playoff chances percentage-wise as of Thursday on Fangraphs, which is a pretty highly respected site. 100% chance for Atlanta and the Dodgers.
I think that's fair enough.
I mean, that's an absolute wash.
Yeah, I think they're definitely going to get in.
Yep, so they do have 89% and 87% for Houston and Texas, respectively. Houston's got a 2% higher chance. I think both of them are pretty much going to make it, though.
Yeah, I think that's fine.
I was super interested in the NL Central. So they gave the Milwaukee Brewers 76%, the Chicago Cubs, your Chicago Cubs, 51%, and then the Cincinnati Reds a measly 22%. How do you feel about that?
I think it's just based on recent play. Like, the Reds haven't really done it. The Brewers, they got, 2.5 game lead, and the Cubs are the ones behind them.
Yeah, so, I mean, I feel pretty good about those percentages. I kind of think Cincinnati's a little low, but...
It is a little bit low, I would say, for a team that's a half game out. Like, how could Miami be... I guess it has strength of schedule to play into part, too.
Chicago is the only team in the 50s, and they are 1% off of 50, so there is not more of a 50-50 chance to make the playoffs in all of baseball today.
One that I found super interesting was them giving Minnesota 90%. That's how bad that division is.
That's the division.
A team that's 3 games above 500 has a 90% chance to get into the playoffs.
100% the division. It's just the weakness of it. The last couple that I thought were super interesting.
That division makes me sick.
8% for the New York Yankees? What?
Yeah.
What?
I guess
9% for the Cleveland Guardians. What do you mean 8% for the New York Yankees?
It's because of how close they are in the division.
I'm not giving... I think the Yankees have a better chance of making the wild card than the Guardians have of winning the division.
Well, statistically, they can't say that, though. because they're 5 out of the wild card, and they're only 3.5 out of the division.
But how are they even finding these percentages then?
It's probably like a bunch of shit goes into it, like end of the season schedule.
Oh, if these are if these are genuinely, I thought these were I thought Fangraphs meant it was more of an opinion-based thing.
I think it's based off of statistics.
Oh, if these are based purely off of statistics, then this is the most insane one.
Yeah.
They think that the LA Angels have the same chance to make the playoffs as the New York Mets at 2%.
Yeah, because they're just so far out of it now.
I'm going to have to look more into this system, but it's super interesting to see how these teams are analyzed then. If these are pure numbers...
Well, a lot of it, people, like, you could disagree with stuff in here.
Yeah, for sure. Well, if it's pure numbers, then not really, but... The last one I wanted to say, let me just fill out the 0% category. These teams are not making it. This is St. Louis, Pittsburgh, the White Sox, Kansas City, Oakland, Colorado, and Washington.
Anyone shocked?
Nope.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so, I mean, 100% Atlanta and Dodgers, we knew that was going to happen. 0% those teams. Everyone in the middle, I mean...
It's a dogfight.
Yeah, the from the 50 to the 96 is where I'm really interested.
Definitely. Yeah.
Seattle at 37 is kind of low. I will just throw that in there, but whatever.
All right, folks. Thank you for listening and watching wherever you have. It is Friday, August 11th, and this was episode 9 of the 9 Frames podcast. I was one half of your host, Bill Whalen.
And I'm Mike Whalen.
You could catch us on Spotify at 9 Frames, YouTube at 9 Frames Podcast, follow us on X at 9 Frames Pod, and be sure to catch us on our new partner site, PlayerGM.com. They also have TikTok at PlayerGM and Instagram at PlayerGM. Please be sure to find us on there.
Yeah, any support is continued to be greatly appreciated.
Like and subscribe on YouTube. Maybe press that notification bell if you want to see when the new episodes come out.
Yeah, and have a fantastic weekend, everyone.
Of course, please enjoy